Hi everyone, welcome to today's video. And in today's video, we're going to talk about how to unpivot your data using only formulas. And one thing about this video is that for the first time, I'm going to record the video together with me, but I'm going to minimize it in a while. Let's see. I'm just trying this out if this is going to work. Let me know in the comment section. This will work. I'll just keep this here subtle on the lower right portion. So now again, let me start. So this video is all about unpivoting a table or a range of cells without using any other tools like PowerQuery can do this automatically or other software. So this is going to be purely functions and formulas. Now, if you're wondering what unpivot is, so unpivot is the process of converting a range of cells into a tabular format. So for example, here I have a matrix of data. And when you say it's a matrix of data, the data is arranged in such a way that there are data arranged in a columnar way, but there's also data or headers on the row area. So it's technically like a matrix wherein you have this data here and you want to sort of like create a raw data from this processed data that we have. So to start, just to let you know, this is actually a two-part process. Yeah, the task is quite difficult. If you can share some answers in the comment section, why not? Or maybe improve my solution to this one, why not? Just share it in the comment section. But my solution requires two phases. Okay, and the first one is we have to sort of like bring in the data that we want to unpivot, and that is by doing this. So let's start. So the first step of this process is to use the indirect function. So for those who are not familiar with indirect, here's how it works in a very in a nutshell. So indirect is a way that you can summon cells. One way is to by using the R1C1 format. So for example, here I'm going to say indirect R1C3, and this means that I want the first row and third column of this worksheet. Okay, so uh, you have to then indicate whether what style you're talking about. So there are two styles in Excel. We have R1C1, which is the old traditional style, and we have the A1 style, which is what you may be accustomed to. So you may be accustomed with calling cells as B4, C7, D19. That is called A1 style. But before A1 style was created, there was this R1C1 style, and that's what I have right now here, R1C1. So I have to use numbers to call on cells. And then, so I have to use that. So I have to indicate your false or just put zero, just like how you would do it in VLOOKUP. So false means zero. And you will see that what I have here is S because S is the first row, third column data in my worksheet. And just to share with you, if I change this to R1C5, for example, then that would give me the letter L because that's the first row, fifth column of the entire worksheet. So that's how the indirect works in a nutshell. There are a lot of purposes for that, but that's not really the point of this video. So for now, what I'm going to do is remove the column number from my indirect function because it has to be dynamic. It has to be based on a cell. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to concatenate, okay, and then I'm just going to use the ampersand method to shorten this, and then I'm going to indicate that I need the column number of this first cell that contains the data. So it's going to be R1C and whatever the column number is of C2. So of course that would be 3. So let's see that you have an S because this is the column function. What it does is it gives you the column number of the cell that you give it. For example, I have your G4. So I'm going to get 7 because G4 column number is 7. So now I'm going to see that it's going to work if I drag it downwards and to the right, giving me these sizes. But of course, this is not really what I want, right? So this is just part of it. So the next part of my formula is I have to concatenate, okay, the other values that I have. And in order for me to do that, I'm going to need separators. So in this case, I'm going to use text join. So text join is like concatenate, but it allows you to put a delimiter, okay, in your concatenated values. So what I'm saying here is that I'm going to join, okay, first this two cells over here, and then I'm also going to join in or bring in the value of C2. Take note that I have to separate A2 to B2 and C2 because C2 will be dynamic. It will be dragged later on. But for A2 to B2, I have to make it stick or absolute or locked for column A and B because column A and B contains data that should always be present in my unpivoted rows later on. So the result of this, well, I just forgot a parenthesis at the end, so Excel corrected me with adding another apostrophe at the end, is going to be a formula that requires us to double click. Oh, we have forgot to ignore empty cells. So we have to ignore the empty cell here because as you can see, the text join function is first the delimiter, whether you will ignore empty cells, which we will just leave it blank so it's true. And then we have here the data that we want to join. So first is A2 to B2, and then C2, and then the result of the indirect function. So now I have this. It's a combination of shirt slash US and then the size S that I have here in my data. So I will drag this downwards, and you will notice that for the second one, it will include uh, the quantity that I have here in the number that I have in my data in the text join. And if there's blank, then it will not show up. So this formula is something that I have to drag all the way to the right. And there you go. So I have the data for each of the cells with all the details that it needs to sort of like convert into a table later. But the thing is, I don't really need everything here, right? So I only need those that have data in them. This one should be ignored, this as well, this as well. Every blank should be ignored. They should not have a result here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to modify the formula in such a way that I'm going to say that if the value of C2 is empty, then we will ignore, not do anything. So again, it says here, if C2 is empty, then don't do anything. I don't need that. Otherwise, we do the text join. So let's close that. And as you can see, the first cell became blank because C2 is blank. Now, if I drag this downwards, you will see that the second one will have a result because it's not blank. C2 is not blank. So this should be done across all my data range here. And as you could see, I've eliminated all the results of TextGen a while ago that actually have no quantity numbers in them. So you should see how this table here is now mirrored by this one over here, except that this second version of the table contains all the details that we need to unpivot later on. And now we're going to the second part of this solution. And for this one, we're going to use a very simple technique. And if you've been using Excel for quite some time, you should be already aware of how to use this. So the first function that we need is we need to join this data that we have together, and that would be the text join function. So the text join function, okay, will merge these cells into one. So we're going to say text join, and then we're going to say that the delimiter is going to be the slash. So similar to what we did a while ago, where we also use the text join function. Okay, but this time we're going to give an instruction that we will ignore empty cells. So to ignore empty cells, we have to put here true, or we can change it to 1, and then comma, and finally the cells that we want to put together. And that would be these cells over here. So we're now going to see the result, and here's what we have. So now we have one long string of texts with slashes that separates the data points of my table. And the next part is I'm going to split this back, okay, into their cells. So for this, I will then split it, okay? So we're going to split this result, this value, and we're going to say that the separator is the slash. So now we put them together, and the purpose of putting them together is to remove the spaces and also to remove the blank cells, I mean, and also to slash, okay, the data together. You know what I mean? So each cell has a slash in between them, and split them back so that they get distributed back into separate cells. So we now have a long line, a long range of cells containing the results. And the next step now is we're going to convert this into a table, and that is by wrapping the data into rows. And for that, we're going to use the wrap rows function, another new function in Excel, and its job is to sort of like wrap a one long string of text. And the idea is after you indicate the data that will be wrapped, you will then indicate how many cells should it wrap, okay, should it wrap onto. So we're going to say that we want it to wrap every time that there's the fourth cell, because four is what we have for each of the cells, right? Each of the data point. We have the style, the country, the size, and the quantity. So we have four data points for each of those cells. And with this, we're going to wrap, okay, based on four cells. And enter. And we now have this wrap version of that long string a while ago. Okay, and it wrapped every four cells. And now we have this table format that is technically the unpivoted version of this range of cells. And this solves our problem, okay, with only one formula. And I hope, okay, this video helped you. If ever this is the reason why you're in this video, if you have any questions, feel free to use the comment section, and I'll be glad to answer it as soon as I can. Okay. And also, if this video helped you and help and solve your problem, we would appreciate a like and subscribe in the channel. It really helps us create more videos for you. But for now, this is it. Okay, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.